Now for Global Business Updates, Rotus Oddiri joins us. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Dr. Bassi. Good morning, Vimbai. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, all our viewers. We begin, of course, this is a broken record at this point. Gold and silver just continuing to rise and rise, record after record. Look at that, 4,006. This is at 89. Silver was at 90. In fact, at this point, it's probably crossed 90. It was oscillating between 90 and $89 an ounce. This is something that started at $36 an ounce at the beginning of 2025. So, again, talk to your financial advisor and assess your risk tolerance before you jump in. What are the triggers that are boosting precious metals? You've got Trump egging on protesters in Iran, saying, go ahead, disrupt your government. Meanwhile, people are getting killed. He hasn't done the military intervention he said he would. Greenland, the Prime Minister of Greenland and the Prime Minister of Denmark had a press conference yesterday. Greenland outrightly rejecting the United States, saying that we picked Denmark. Then you've got the Venezuela situation, and you're not quite sure where things are going there in terms of the future. And then Federal Reserve independence. We had global federal central bank governors come out in defense of power, although there was some funny drama in New Zealand where the Reserve Bank governor was told to stay in her lane and not get into U.S. politics. So that's on that. So a quote from the Jens Frederik Nielsen, Prime Minister of Greenland, saying, if we have to choose between the United States and Denmark, here and now we choose Denmark. And of course, President Trump was asked about the comments, and in local parlance, what we say in Nigeria, he basically said, who be this? But here's the clip of Trump responding.
Sir, the Premier of Greenland said today, we prefer to stay with Denmark. Do you see that as the
Who
final
said
word?
that?
The Premier of Greenland.
Well, that's their problem. That's their problem. I disagree with him. I don't know who he is. Don't know anything about him. But that's going to be a big problem for him.
Somebody's telling you that I don't want you to come and take over my assets, and you're telling me that's your problem. The man is amazing. Japan for 2 days now has been leading Asian markets. Monday was a holiday, and so over 3% gain for the Nikkei 225, 1.6% gain today on the Takaichi trade, which is basically about expansionary fiscal policy. She has a massive budget that she wants to put forward, and also there's news coming out that she plans to call a snap election in February. Remember, Ishiba, when he stepped down, he called a snap election, and the LDP, the Liberal Democratic Party, lost their majority in the upper house, and they have a very thin majority in the lower house, right? So she didn't come in through an election. It was basically, as far as the Japanese people are concerned, it was within the party. So her poll numbers are apparently very high, according to Japanese media, somewhere around 78-80%, including her cabinet. So she wants to flex, and she wants to test that popularity with this snap election. The Japanese have been really behind her in standing up to China over the situation in Taiwan. Seems to have a decent relationship with President Trump. And so the equities market really likes this. The bonds, however, that's a different story. Long-term bonds, bondholders are actually worried that this expansionary fiscal policy is going to increase Japan's debts, which is the highest debt to GDP, the highest in the world, although most of that is domestic debt. China announcing the largest trade surplus on planet Earth. They just released these figures. Tariffs not working. In fact,
it's not working, no.
Okay. Although trade. Well, I'll say this, Rufai, to your point. Trade to the U.S. So, in fact, you are correct, because the exports to the U.S. were down 30% in December alone, down 20% year on year, and still 20% growth, $1.2 trillion. Still, automobiles. I mean, China is just, and also rerouting through other. So they've got, they have like a vehicle assembly plants here in Nigeria and other countries, and so they're able to get those into Southeast Asia and other parts and still into the US. But direct exports to the US still done, even with the tariffs, as Rufai just said. For December, it was 114 billion for December alone. There are only 2 other months that were higher than this. I think it was January and June. So just China just continuing to to power on when it comes to its exports. United States inflation came in as expected, 2.7% year-on-year for headline. Core inflation, when you strip out volatile food and energy, 2.7, in line with forecast, month-on-month 0.3. So there's a Fed meeting in 2 weeks. Powell and everybody, we're going to see what decision they make. I think the people are saying the Trump administration has scored an own goal in trying to bring these criminal charges to him, because now you're getting JP Morgan. In fact, let's jump to JP Morgan now. They released their earnings, they beat earnings, but the stock was still down because their debt underwriting and investment banking revenues were down, but still 46 billion, beating estimates here. Net income, adjusted net income coming in about 13 billion. Their net interest margin that they've projected for full 2026. I mean, look at this. This is larger than like economies of Latvia or Senegal or Estonia. I mean, 103 billion in net interest margin, which is the difference between the interest that they earn on loans and the interest they pay out on accounts. But Jamie Dimon has come out against the prosecution of Jerome Powell. Also, Trump is trying to cap interest rates on credit cards. He's getting pushback on that. I think everybody's just saying it's just desperation for the midterms. And then, I think you've already touched on this. UAE and Nigeria signing this trade deal to reduce tariffs on their respective goods that they export to each other. Also, for individuals who want to start businesses there, extended business visits, so on and so forth. And then stock market still powering on. 1.5% gain yesterday. 165 points is where we are with the all-share index. We're up 6.5%, and we're not even in February yet. That's our update for today.
And mind you, I just have to also say this because I've been getting a lot of calls. People are saying, yes, the stock market is doing nowhere. Please ask your advisors before you buy stocks. So it's not that every stock that you buy will appreciate in the market too.
Of course,
this is a general, because I know some, I don't want to mention the names of those stocks. I know some stocks that their rates has been the same for the last 5-10 years.
You mean the price, right?
The price,
You have to be careful, of course. Good
so
advice.
I don't want to mention those. I don't want to
advisor.
give the honorable mention. But
Call your advisor, assess your risk tolerance before you invest.
But as regards to what Trump is doing, you can see he's upending the world ecosystem. At first, all the things he has done has not worked largely. The tariff that you felt he was going to use to upend China, it's not working. China is gaining a great trade surplus about him. Then you're going into unnecessary geopolitical wars. You've gone into Venezuela, all for nothing. The maths does not add up, and that's what the Chevron guys are saying. We will not put in our money into this. You are saying over 100 billion. For oil that they are selling for $22 per barrel almost for free, it will cost you about $88 to be able to get a barrel out of the ground. So for every time you even sell the oil, you're losing 1 to 4. And you think this will sail through. Then you go to Jerome Powell. Then you try to upend the market by questioning the integrity based on a lie. And Jerome Powell had called you out on the lie live on television.
Chaos everywhere.
Well, big lessons to take away from China, but I mean, China is always schooling us, right? But I think the biggest message here is manufacturing matters. Manufacturing matters because even if the United States are making it difficult to trade, you pivot, you send to EU, you send to the ASEAN markets, you strengthen that. Now, this is also, of course, on the back of weakened domestic supply, domestic consumption, excuse me. So there was extra that needed to be pushed out. So that dynamic is also important to take note of. But, to bring Trump back into the conversation, that fear about, the end of the dollar hegemony becomes more and more real when we see statistics such as this, when we know that the cross-border receipts over 52%, we haven't seen the most recent numbers for 2025, they're settled in RMB, in Chinese yuan. So, that, and you're looking at now the biggest exporter in the world, and the balance of that, it's obvious that Donald Trump will attack anything that's coming at him. Right now it's a lot, but it's especially BRICS related that is contending with a dollar hegemony.
He again like 2 days ago.
Yes. And now he's going to go into Iran as well. It's all about attacking that dollar hegemony attack.
Some extra background to the Greenland story, which is historical, dating back to Henry Kaufman, the ambassador of Denmark to the United Nations by the end of the Cold War, or the World War II, 1939 to 1945. It was Kaufman who has featured in one film called The Good Traitor, who signed a treaty with the United States. Because on April 2nd, 1941, during World War II, Germany had seized Greenland. And Kaufman unilaterally then decided to go and seek America's protection. America, at that time, wanted the aluminium that was in that region. But because he acted unilaterally, Kaufman was treated as a traitor. And then, of course, much later, he was then rehabilitated in the 1950s as a minister without a portfolio. When Denmark was, the Allied forces were able to defeat Germany, and then Denmark became free in 1945. But the economic interest of the United States is a basic thing beyond that story, which is, a region that is very rich in mineral resources. And America does not want, Russia or China to have a foothold in that region. However, the big fear, is what may well be the collapse of NATO alliance as a result of the selfish interests of the United States. Now, you talked about the commodities, the precious metals doing well. Your
favorites.
It's not just the precious metals that are doing well. Oil is also doing well. Because of Iran. If America attacks Iran as it is threatening, saying that we are not ruling out military action, then of course the Strait of Hormuz will be affected and it will go up. And people are buying precious metals because they need to hedge their bets, they need to avert risk. As for power, it's been supported by former central bank governors and officials, Kaufman, Bernard Bernanke, Janet Yellen, and also by global central bankers, who are saying that if you do this to power, it may affect inflation and may also have implications for the independence of the U.S. Federal Reserve, which is a bipartisan position in Congress.
Indeed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Rotus.